Good morning, everybody in Facebook land. How are you? I'm doing good. I felt great yesterday, though I did, yes, take a nap because sometimes it's required. And in this environment, it's in the air. The needing to sleep is in the air. I mean, my husband had to sleep for 12 hours the other day, and then people in his world, he was telling me, had to sleep for a long time or had trouble waking up. And so, yeah, we're in a very highly dynamic environment. And though I do hear occasional tones, like sometimes in the left side of my ear and the right side of my ear, and then even in like the center in between both my left and right ear, like in the middle of my head, I could hear certain tones. But I don't really get fazed by them. I don't have that progressive heat flush that comes through the top of the head and then goes down to a certain point. I used to, but not anymore. I guess some people call that hot flashes, which is why I said that in one of my other posts that this whole COVID has triggered people's menopause, even men, because men are feeling hot flashes too sometimes. And you're like, well, they're not women if they're men. They don't have a uterus and all that. No, but it's the body going through an energy conversion, and heat is part of it. That's part of the thermodynamics. Okay, you will always, that's the laws of biology. It follows the laws of thermodynamics, but you also can counter the laws of thermodynamics and balance it with negentropy, which is building up the body and the substance and not allowing the body to completely deteriorate. And so that's what's lost in the science community, is because they have cast spells and said only entropy is the outcome, when you could actually have negentropy if you understand what it means to be negentropic. And I don't even know if that's a word, but I'm using the laws and the rules of grammar to develop that word. And so that's the beauty of the J world, is that now you're seeing, I'm a representation that you will increase your intellect. Like, you will definitely increase your intellect if that's your desire. Because why else would you want to be on this earth? I mean, how many times can you play around and just sit on the beach, and vegetate? How many entertainment parks can you go to? How many lobster dinners can you buy before you have to figure out, how do you get satisfaction out of this world that you live in? Satisfaction comes from the intellect when you think about it. It's when we have developed a society that needs to be distracted, that doesn't put emphasis, you think about it, intellectually. They put a lot of emphasis, when you think about it, in sexuality and families. And then they groom certain people for intellectual capability. And that's where you see the nerds in the Breakfast Club. And then you see all the different programming in the Breakfast Club. And so when you think about, I don't remember how many people were in the Breakfast Club, but let's say there were 5 of them. 1/5 of that group of people were set to be intellectually innovative, and the rest were all fighting their hormonal urges and dealing with the social constructs of that society. And so at this point in the J world, you're going to have a new lease on life once you get through your physiological and your psychological and your spiritual trauma. And what is spiritual trauma? The politics, the religions, all of them, I don't care what they are, and the science dogmas. And I Googled what spirituality is because I remember putting on my Facebook yesterday that anytime that you're saying you're spiritual, you are casting death spells, not only on yourself, but on other people around you. Why is that? Why are you making such a broad claim, Jillian? Because it is about, well, not only just questioning your place on this earth, questioning everything, the soul and all of that, but also coming to terms with the death process, the death and the life and the deterioration. And so spirituality is about trying to explain the afterlife, trying to explain other planes planes's, which is different existences, dimensions, other than what you are experiencing right now, where you are looking forward to the afterlife, looking forward to getting off this hell on earth because you are in suffering mode and you can't seem to get out of it. And so then you look forward to something besides what it is that's right in front of you. And spirituality is not about dealing with what you have today and facing the demons and reconciling with them. No, spirituality is about saying, okay, I give up, but I'm going to live out whatever is left and find absolution in it, and then slip away gently into the night, or opposite of that. Okay, and so I'm going to say the J world is going to make you question your spirituality. It's going to make you reconcile with everything, all the spells that are cast upon you. Okay, and so yesterday I was Googling, like I was looking up, since I'm watching Suits, and the reason why I get into the TV shows that I watch, because I'm inspired by the premise of those TV shows, those series. What had me write a book, or what inspired me to write books, okay? What inspired me to write books was when I was watching Californication, and I was watching David Duchovny. It was on Netflix, and he was a prolific writer in that show, that Californication show. And even though, yeah, it was based out of California, it was about his sexual exploits and his daughter, who is with the mom, and then the mommy, you know, and the daddy and him, whatever, split up, and then he's hanging out in Hollywood and has an agent. His agent's all about sex. I mean, everything's about sex in that movie, Californication. But he was a writer, and he wrote about a bunch of stuff. And he was a struggling writer, which he had writer's block and trying to find inspiration throughout his life and the things that he went through in Hollywood. Okay, so Californication inspired me to write. And so then I'm looking at the Suits, and I like, once I've understood the laws of biology, and then you have to understand the laws of the society that you live in, and you have to also find a way to articulate and develop a compelling argument around what it is that you're doing, because it's going to go against everything in mainstream society in the J world. When you're in the J world and you're getting the gray hair and you have the plump skin and you're dealing with inflammation, you're dealing with so many things, predisposed issues that most people want to go and get a surgery for or go get something for, you're going to have to develop an intellectual argument around what the hell you're doing, so people do not think that you are hurting yourself or harming yourself by not treating yourself. And so then, while you're going through that process of release and rejuvenation, regeneration, and going through that intellectual and physiological evolution, develop the arguments. And this is why, and understand the laws of biology. And I gave you a few of them. Well, like the theory of relativity. Everything is relative. Understanding Einstein. Okay? Understanding energy. Understand different words for energy. Understanding, Newton's laws of motion, laws of biology, laws of thermodynamics, and understand even the English language, like I said before. Understand the context of which our society has been compartmentalized in and separated from the other parts of society, and then trained in very specific parts, and so tunneled and not making the connections and everything. And so when now I have a foundation, I have 50 years of life experience. I have the J world under my belt. I have the Dr. Phil under my belt. I have all those fucked up articles about me under my belt. I have a few books, but one book is out there under my belt. And I also have a platform that my parents gave me under my belt. That's the platform that I'm working from. And then I can also read stuff and make the connections that quickly, and I have a foundation I can work from. That's what's available in the J world once you get through those predisposed issues. And if you're my age, or a little bit younger, or a little bit older, you have so much fucking life experience that you're going to be heads and shoulders above most people out there, and especially against these young kids that are graduating colleges. They might have a 4.3, 4.0 GPA and all that. But do they have the life experience? Yeah, they can regurgitate. Yeah, they can, go through numbers and be quick at numbers. But do they have the transferable skills of life experience, understanding people? Unless they're going into something that's behind the scenes and just running numbers through their head like a computer, like coding or anything like that, then okay, that's fine. They don't need to have all the life experience. All they need to do is just use their brain and run numbers through their head and maybe figure out formulas. But when you're dealing with the public and dealing with so many different scenarios, and you have that life experience behind you, you have the travels, you have just all the different circles of people that you've hung out with the last 50, 60, 70, 80 years, you will bring a world of knowledge and wealth to another company. Once they understand that there's going to be people out there in the world that are in the J world, that are coming up against the odds, released all their predisposed issues, got their brain back, got their life back, got their body back. And now they want to go out there and contribute to society. Because I remember a couple years ago when one of the people that were next to me were like, well, we're going to get rich off of this. We're not going to go back into working for our society. This is going to be our ticket out of something. I don't know. We had all these pie in the sky plans of how we're going to get rich off of the J world. Okay. And they're like, and I was thinking like going back to work and doing something while I was trying to write this book and and people are like, no, you shouldn't have to go back to work and do that. Now we got to write this book about the J world and this new fucking cure and new this, new that. And we're going to get rich like all these people over there that have gotten rich off all their different cures. And once we realized that was never going to happen. I realized that. I knew it wasn't going to happen. This was not a get rich quick. You can't sell evolution to people who are creationists. Evolution is change. You can't sell change to people because you can't convert people. And you can't sell them pain. You can't sell them a cure unless it's going through, like again, the double-blind studies through biotech, and there's no guarantee that it's going to last however long. And in this environment, you can't guarantee anything. And so then I realized that's when I'm like, okay, no one's around me and no one's going to get fucking rich off of this. Sorry, it's not going to happen. People don't want to feel pain. They don't want to fucking change. And evolution is off the table for many, many people. And so then what I realized is that this is what's going to give you the edge to compete in a world of 12.9 billion people in the future. Right now we're at 8 billion. But when you know that most people out there are dealing with predisposed issues, we know that kids have their parents' genetics who haven't dealt with their issues except through the medical holistic system. These kids are going to these Ivy League colleges. Yeah, that's great. They have a 3.5 or 4.0 GPA, and they're going to have all their fancy degrees. But how long will they last in that industry? Some people with the perfect genetic, well, I'll say perfect, but they have better genetics than others, might last a certain amount of time, but then you don't know when this climate shifts again, what's going to come up for them. We already see these young girls that they look hot, they look great, they look beautiful, and then they have this big old huge thing on their neck. Why? Because they have blockages in their lymph nodes. And when you have blockages in your lymph nodes, that's when you have these big, huge tumors of cancer. Because they came from their parents who never dealt with their predisposed issues. They're in a highly dynamic environment. They couldn't get away with what their parents did 50 years ago today. And so, but they're still doing what their parents do. They're following their parents' footsteps. They take all the remedies, surgeries, food mitigation, and they're all exercising, trying to look like the hottest thing on the magazines. And then the environment shifts, causing vast amounts of growth, and all of a sudden they have this big, huge growth. Now they're going to get it surgically taken off. They've just now developed trauma to the body. And then they'll be okay for a minute until something else happens. I mean, that's what is going on. And once you enter into those contracts, the medical, especially the medical system, I mean, even the holistic system, but they're feeders into both of them. Once you then introduce that kind of trauma to the body, that's very hard to come back from in this environment because it will be very painful to release those damaged cells and to build up your body, get the intelligence in your middle and get the intelligence up here and go through then every single sin that their parents did against their body, mind, and spirit, because that's what's going to come up is every single thing the parents did to their body, mind, and spirit will come up in their in their offspring. And the kids have to deal with the parents' sins of the father, sins of the mother, So that's what's for you guys in the J world. Okay, while everybody's out there trying to, like, you know, scrap and punch to get ahead, and they don't realize they're ticking time bombs as far as genetic predisposed issues in this environment, you guys in the J world are going to be facing those fucking demons and releasing them. And you set your life up for it. So that way, when down the road, when you're ready to go and study for, let's say, finish up your degree and go enter into a college, like what I was looking up on Amazon was LSAT exams, GREs. I was looking up all these different exams, MBA type of textbooks, because now it's like challenging. It's great to challenge your brain to read high level education type of text and books and see if I can understand them and just take in the knowledge. Even if I don't have a context to put them in, but I do. I have the J world because of the laws of biology and the laws of the body. That's why I am mixing legal terms with biological terms and things with the body and what they do in the medical system. Because the medical system knows the laws of the body. They understand. I mean, Ouroboros is a snake eating its tail. That's Hermetic spiritualism, right? But there's also applicable terms in the medical system, in the legal system, like tampering with evidence, like burying evidence. Surgery is tampering with evidence. Because there's evidence, and you're taking out a lymph node because that lymph node has blockages. It's not working to your benefit. And so someone said, well, I'll just take out the fucking lymph node because that's the problem, right? Then they just tamper with evidence. That was evidence to show that they have taken so many different herbs, extracts, and supplements, and detoxes, and pills and powders to block up their lymph nodes, their lymphatic system. And so what does the medical system do? They go take out the evidence. They tamper with evidence. You are the evidence of the shit that the system has done to you. And they keep tampering with evidence every single time you go through a surgery. And then when you die, right, if you're not getting cremated, then they're burying the evidence in the graveyard. And so you can actually transfer, you can actually apply legal terms to the medical holistic system. And then there's like, and then of course marriage is between a husband and wife, or a wife and wife, or a husband, whatever, is client attorney privilege. Who's the client? Who's the attorney? Well, it can back and forth, right? It's like everything is sacred between attorney-client privilege. You're not supposed to break privilege. Then you get disbarred, right? Well, it's the same thing with, that's in the legal system. You're not supposed to break privilege, and that's from Suits. I'm watching Suits, okay? And then with husband and wife, you're not supposed to testify against your husband or wife unless you're in some kind of divorce proceedings. But everything between a husband and wife is fucking sacred. And it's like attorney-client privilege. Okay? And so many things can be applied, and the context is what separates. But when you understand the jargon and the language and the intention behind the medical system, the legal system, the holistic system, all the systems out there, then you can see the connection between everything. And so then when you are going to study for a state exam for anything, whether it's insurance, for, to get into a law school or a graduate school, or study for the rest of your bachelor's, you now have so much knowledge to apply to hypothetical situations when you have to do essay questions. Okay, and then you learn, then when you're also reading stuff, when you release all those fucked up demons that are causing distractions and causing all the things that make you like, that slow down your reading comprehension. Then when you can read something, you're like, oh, I get it. I can read this whole paragraph and understand right there what the intention is, what the premise is. I can, and that's the thing about releasing those demons is then, you become intellectually smarter, and then you want to challenge yourself. Because what else is there? How many times can you run around the block and be a marathon runner? I mean, that's a lot of the focus in our society is all physical. A lot of physical. Oh yeah, sports and all the sex and the sports and all the physical stuff that people are making money off of their body. But when their body goes to shit, then their mind goes to shit. That's the thing about what goes on, is the deterioration of the body, mind, and spirit because of the focus on the body mostly, with maybe 1/5 of the population geared for intellectual capacity, intellectual evolution. And then when you have parents who have predisposed issues and they have children, and those children are not going to know what's in their genetic line because no one really talks about health issues or predisposed issues because it's all HIPAA and parents are embarrassed of their issues, or maybe they're not, or they just don't want to talk about it because it's too painful or too this, then these kids are flying blind. They have all these dreams. They're going to go to this college and go be this one, be this great thing. And then when they're in their third year of college and they're being, they're being seduced by all these different companies that want them. And then all of a sudden the next year they got triggered with an autoimmune disorder. And now they're in the hospital fighting some kind of fucking fast moving cancer. There goes all their fucking dreams. That's what fucking sucks right now. Is that we have kids who are sitting ducks. They don't know when that shit's going to trigger. And they just hope. They're just gambling and hoping. But they're not even hoping. They're not even aware. That's the thing. They're not even aware. I mean, there's one thing to be like, okay, I'm aware. I'm just going to hope I can get through. And when it does happen, then you have as plan B on how you're going to allow yourself to finally release the demons and take a hiatus from school and everything else. But no, these kids aren't even fucking aware of what's in their genetic line. They're not even aware of anything. Because no one's going to tell them anything because people are too afraid to talk about things that are difficult. Parents don't even think that way. Because remember, they're taught by their parents and then down the line. And so the J world is giving you the gift of fucking foresight. You are getting the gift of foresight because now you see what goes on in the health and wellness world and what goes on in genetic lines. You couldn't make the correlation with causation in a slower frequency environment and no one has told you. Because you thought that, okay, well, back in the 80s, they didn't have as much cancer as they do today and all these exotic diseases. So then you're like, well, mom and dad are relatively healthy and they're living to be out, 80, 90. That's what's going to happen to me. And so they were riding high and they were probably right. They probably could have used all the different treatments in a slower frequency environment and bought themselves however many years. And they go and become awesome in their job and in their career. And they have a big family and all these friends and associations and all that stuff. And so, yeah, in a slower frequency environment, that's what happened. But in this environment, all bets are off. All bets are off. Okay? And so now you're in a different world. Everything is on fucking acceleration and turbo. That's why I posted that thing from the Died Suddenly groups of this healthcare professional watching people waste away. Oh yeah, I watch people on my Facebook waste away. People who are younger than me. They are losing so much fat and collagen and they're aging rapidly. It's fucking extraordinary, but it's crazy to watch. People younger than me, 20 years younger than me, look older than me. If they put me next to that person and there's a kid looking at him and looking at me, and they'd be like, hey, old man, to that guy, and be like, and a kid who's like maybe 5 or 6 or 7 years old won't have that kind of perspective, know how old the person is next to me, who looks like so vastly older than me. They won't have that perspective. They'll just look at what they look like. And that's what's crazy, is watching people younger than me age that fucking rapidly. And it's like, or deteriorate. Let's call it what it is, deterioration. And so this is for the J world. For those who are fucking serious, not using J juice as a cure. Yeah, you might be using J juice to preempt stuff and bring stuff up, but in this environment, you're not going to need that much J juice because in this environment, we're in a highly ionic environment. J juice is highly ionic. It's not poison, but you don't want to have the energy work against you or cure you, because again, cures are deadly in a dynamic environment because you have to release those demons. The curses and the spells that were cast upon you, contracts that were forced upon you at a young age and even older. And you have to also take in all the food in the food supply. And that would mean you have to basically condition your alimentary canal to take on the pressure of gaining pressure of intelligence. And that's not comfortable. That feels like you're bloating. That will feel like everything that you have been running away from for years. And you'll have to deal with everything in your genetic line. Okay, so you should live at least until you're 150, right? At least. And look relatively young. But then here's the thing. Remember, white hair or gray hair is your original hair color before then the system programmed you to die and reproduce. And so I'm going to show you, again, that you will get the white hair and the gray hair as your original hair color coming through, as the old programming of the phenotypical characteristics of black, white, red, whatever, hair, and you will still have the plump skin, you will have clear skin, you'll have substance to you to handle the energy conversions, but you will probably have white hair. And I couldn't tell you what it'll be like later on. But that's way down in the future, because you can see how slow it is. Because those that went through chemotherapy and radiation when they had cancer and they were prescribed to have that, their hair turned white. But first it fell out, and then it grew in white, and then I guess eventually grew back to the regular hair color. But that's what happens, is that when you finally break the programming of the old world, you're going to see what your hair was supposed to be before they added in all the genetic editing, which was the red hair, the blonde hair, the brown hair, the black hair. And you'll look like a star seed, a Pleiadian. But you won't look like you are deteriorating. You won't look like you're aging out. You will look like... Can you imagine me with long gray hair, silver hair? Can you imagine long silver hair? And I go outside and I have tan skin. I will look like a Pleiadian on some level. And they'd be like, oh, look, a star seed. No, I'm not a star. We're all fucking star seeds. Okay? We're all star seeds. Because they all come from the universe. Just a matter is, what religion did you buy into? All right? So you should live at least until you're 150, and you will be well established in your career, and the world would be the most peaceful, bountiful world. You can live as long as you want, but at least you have 150 years of personal and professional development. And so that's what I'm offering to the world, is that you don't have to die someday and deteriorate and then cast spells on yourself and the people around you. You don't have to be in fear of what's going on. Just understand what's going on. And want to be not only evolutionary, but intellectually fucking smart. But that also means physiologically intelligent. Because I'll tell you, if you're just intellectually smart and your body's going to shit, what was it all for? Those are the type A's and B's in the old world. We have type A's and B's right now that are going through that transition. And it's a tough one. That's a lot of programming you have to go and replace. But you won't lose the intelligence. That's what people have to understand. That even though you're type A and B and you've been bred to be fucking intellectual and fucking smart, now you have to be physiologically smart in your body. So you can keep up with the type O's who are taking on the intelligence. And so it is about releasing and replacing. Like those who are obese, you can't just think that you're just going to do J juice and shit out all your weight. No, in like 2 or 3 days or even a month. When you are obese, it is a progressive release and still eating. And your body will slowly go through that transformation process. And it's not going to be right away. You're going to go through the heat, go through all the different things that people don't want to feel. And it's going to be a long process. That's a lot of programming you have to release. And that's a lot of programming you have to then replace with a different type of intelligence, of tolerance. And again, when you're out there working every single day, you're going to have to make time for that transformation process. That's no different than someone who's really emaciated, who wants to take on the pressure, take on the weight, the intelligence. And that in of itself is its own thing. Because not only are you fighting against the system of people who want to keep distracting you with everything under the sun, but now you're fighting also the environment. And so taking on pressure is also a gradual thing. And you have to keep measuring out how much energy you expend every single day, every single week, how much food you're eating, and everything, your whole lifestyle. Okay? And so again, I'm seeing more kids out there breaking bones. Now people are breaking their wrist bones, right? I mean, not now. These kids are falling apart. That's what's so freaking crazy. They're falling apart. At the bone level, I'm happy that my husband has strong bones. And then thank God he got into this trucking industry where he can pack on the pounds. We were eating so well when we were in Florida. We were eating lobsters, porterhouse steaks. We were eating everything. We both were like chubby, but that was good. That was the insurance before climate change. Because climate change is highly, highly accelerated atmosphere. And I keep making sure he eats. I'm not saying that he's going to end up like me, releasing the demons and reversing the aging process, but at least he has enough insurance that he might live to be 100. Who knows? I couldn't exactly say. Okay? Because he would have to feel everything that he hadn't want to feel. I mean, everybody has predisposed issues. Everybody does. Some might come up a little bit, but when they disappear because of so many reasons, it doesn't mean that he released them. It just means that they're laying dormant, metastasizing in some level, you know. And so that's what I'm saying. Like you literally have to face those demons, because some of those predisposed issues came up during the initial climate change, and then the body found a way to resist that and cover it up with layers of other types of programming. And so yeah, I mean, the facing the demons is paramount in the major longevity process, and it does take time. And also how you exhibit that you are releasing the demons and you are taking on the intelligence and you are on that track of longevity. Is even your belief systems will change. The old way of you will take on a totally new way of looking at the world. You will not be going back to the old spells and texts that were forced upon you. You would be rewriting your own contract. Because you'd have to. Everything in politics, religion, and science are the death spells. That's what it is. They are death spells. Everything in the energy healing world is the death spells. I mean, I have to be honest with you. And though, yeah, I support people in doing what they do in the J world because, you know, we're finding a common ground, doesn't mean that I buy into everything, but I'll still support people in the beauty of what they can offer to the world, whatever it is. It's how I use the things that are out there. I don't use anything to play with my energy chakras or everything. I think things are pretty, and there'll be pieces out there for me to like things to look at, but I don't do anything to try to get any. I don't know. I'm going to try to say I don't play in the energy healing world, but I like pretty things, and I like, you know, and that's fine. But it's how I use them. And so there's a way where you can have pretty things and not use them against the energy of your body, but to look at stuff, and everything is balanced. I don't have. Again, I just want to let you know that I can still appreciate people and what they offer artistically and everything else to the world, but it doesn't mean that I will use what they use as like a spiritual thing. I'm not spiritual. I'm terrestrial. I'm part of this fucking earth. I'm not looking to the beyond. I'm not looking to any other, you know, 3D, 4D, 5D type of thing. I'm sticking with the grounding of reality. And I'm trying my best to adapt to everything. And I'm doing a damn good job. And that's what I offer, is that opportunity. Okay, so let me just transition to this. So in Suits, Harvey, he's the main character. He's the badass freaking lawyer. He's what I would be if I could be. Because he's charismatic. He is a little bit cold and well put together, completely chiseled. Even when I look at his face, there's like this almost like a Joker, but not really, like scar that adds character. I don't know if that was intentional, because you know Hollywood actors, they go through different plastic surgery to make them look amazing. Okay, and then they carry out their job for however many years, and then they deteriorate, and that was their job, was to be an influencer. But anyways, Harvey had past cases he won come back and bite him in the ass because new evidence emerged and reopened the case, potentially even implicating him as an accessory to burying evidence that was timestamped from his office by his secretary, Donna. He had to find the paper implicating the company he defended, and Donna found it was her signature, and she subsequently shredded it with the intention to protect her boss. But it made him an accessory to a crime, burying evidence and tamper with evidence that he had to prove he did not order her to shred the document. She was fired and then came back. It becomes messy when you cover up past mistakes. Now, this is the thing. So here's this one lesson that I got from that. And there's 3 different lessons in this whole scenario. She was fired from the company, and now he must prove he did not ask her to do it. And of course, she won't implicate herself, lest go to jail. It becomes messy when you cover up past mistakes. Medical, holistic, energy, healing, surgeries, demonizing food are covering up past mistakes. Okay? Moral of the story, just because you won today does not mean later on you could become a loser, because you could. Don't ever bury evidence, and when the evidence disease comes up, conflicting with your past wins, face it, acknowledge it, and make it right. Update. What if someone planted the evidence to be buried? And then what if, what if someone planted the evidence to be buried? Yeah, okay. And what if they even made up that evidence? Not just planted the evidence to be buried, like they had it, like it was supposed to be there, but then it was planted in the files, and then she went and shredded it. What if they even made up that document never actually existed, but they made up that existence and then had her timestamp it? And so there's so many different scenarios out there when it comes to cancer, disease, and chronic illness. Someone planting evidence, planting shit in you, and then you have to release those demons. Okay? Somebody trying to hide it with the medical holistic system, and someone dies and you go and bury that and no one goes and figures out what the hell's going on. I mean, there's so many ways of which you can look at everything. So that's why you got to be the one to control your body, mind, and spirit, because once you give your body, mind, and spirit to the medical holistic system and the energy healing world, all bets are off again. Somebody else is going to use your body, mind, and spirit for their intentions to make money off of you or whatever. Okay? And so you have to now be the one to understand that there are so many scenarios when it comes to why people pass away. And so, and it's been embedded in your world for years, and you have so many religions coming from that. So many. The Bible is one of the biggest religions around the death process. And just because they did it for allegedly 6,000 years or 5,000, 4,000 years or 2,000 or even, 1,000 doesn't mean that you couldn't evolve from that. Because again, evolutionary people like change, but too much evolution can destroy. So the balance between evolution and creationism is necessary. It's not being one or the other. That's what I have to realize and make sure I make a point. Is that it's not just being a creationist, and it's not just being an evolutionist. It's balancing both creationism and evolution. And so you can be an evolutionist and then be in this sort of plateau and allow the system to iron out the wrinkles and go through the little ups and downs. And so you say in your little creationist, your little equilibrium, relative equilibrium for a certain amount of time, let's say 10 years. And then when the system needs to change, you can then become an evolutionist and you change with the system. But what happens is creationists don't want to fucking change. Creationists resist change. Creationists were meant to pass away because they don't want to change. They don't want to bring on the substance. They don't want to change the way they look at things. They want to still be in fear. They want to keep dieting and mitigating food. They don't want to change anything. And so creationism is about dying and reproducing, and they want to have 1 billion kids. Okay. But versatility is fucking important. You can be both creationist and evolutionist. But the whole Rosicrucian is about taking one side or the other. You have your evolutionists over here, and you have your creationists over here, and they're always in conflict. But you now, with the J world, you can balance both those worlds out. And that would mean you'd have to question your politics, your religion, and your science dogmas. And if you can't question that, then you can't blame anyone. Then what you're doing, you're blaming. You're in fear of everything, and you're blaming everything under the sun because you cannot change. Why is it when you can't change, why is it everybody else's fault? Why are we inducing fear about things that you know that in the J world you can release those demons? If there's train derailments and there's pollution here and whatever, poisons and toxins and particle spreaders all over the place, you can survive it. You don't have to be in fear of it. But in creationism and evolutionism, they also develop the fear campaigns, because evolution has changed. When you want to change things, then you tap into what works. It's the fucking fear campaigns. But you as a creationist can now be like, oh, I see what's going on. I'm an evolution. I can change. I don't have to be in fear of this, 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 and this. And maybe it's time to change how I do shit. So that way I don't have to fall into those. I don't have to be in fear of dying because I know how to redirect. That's what all the fear campaigns are around the chemtrails, around all the different, train derailments and everything else. People are afraid to die, but you already accepted death. So why are you afraid of it? If you've already accepted it. The system is just going to make sure it accelerates because that's what you want anyways, right? You want to go over there and Pleiades and whatever. You want to go hang out over there in heaven with all the people that are in your family. The system is giving you what you want. So then why are you in fear if that's what you want anyways? There should be no fear if the end result in your world is not to be on this earth in a terrestrial way. If that's your intention, then why be in fear of the chemtrails? Why be in fear of all the train derailments? Why be in fear of anything? Just protect yourself so you don't get caught in the crossfire of somebody else supernovaing. That's all psychological operations. When you finally release those demons, especially in the J world, and you stop doing the J juice and you bring on the pressure and you release the demons and you finally change the way you look at shit, you'll realize now what's going on and you'll end all of that fear campaigns. And you won't promote death. You won't cast spells of death on your friends and family. You know you can't convert them, but you'll be the representation of life. So just so you know, all types of surgery, regardless, is attacking your immune system, causing it to be compromised, taking out organs and problems, just compromise the system even more so. Those who are faced with choices, you're the lucky ones. Lymph nodes are not the problem when you've been diagnosed with cancer. It's the fact that you've refusal to open them up and release the demons is the issue. Yeah, it's painful. Shit, everything is painful. Change is painful. But it's more painful when you die from a remedy later on for your family and you. Yeah, when you're dying from all these different remedies, whether it's oncological or starvation, it's more painful for you and the family because your body wants to live and your family doesn't want to lose you. They need you. They want you. And you're actively taking yourself out at your own hand. Cancer is when you use the medical legal remedies against your body's natural law. And now you need to bury evidence and tamper with evidence. Cancer, disease, chronic illness is the evidence that you violated life at some point. Even the aging process. Surgery is tampering with evidence and death is burying evidence. Everything is connected. When you're so emotional and so spiritual, you will fail to see the connections because you're all about love, 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 and kindness, right? And I see it all over Facebook. Everyone's all about love and kindness when they're dying. Yeah, because that's their absolution. I see it. It's crazy. I don't get involved with it. When people are dying, they're all about love and kindness because that's their absolution. And so I'll just read this real quick. Tampering with evidence. Make present or use of any record, document, or thing knowing it to be false and with purpose to mislead a public official who is or may be engaged in such proceeding or investigation, or with purpose to corrupt the outcome of any such proceeding or investigation. So yeah, when you want to investigate something and the body's not there because it's buried, but there's, that's not exactly the actual technical because there has to be some kind of context, like an actual investigation, official investigation, of which then if somebody tampers with the evidence, that would be that. But when you think about it theoretically in an abstract way, yeah, surgery is tampering with evidence, and then burying evidence is when people are cremated or buried in a graveyard. Okay, and so then I realized and this is where I have to understand both sides of it, right? The creationist part of me has to understand this. The die suddenlies or state-sanctioned direct euthanasia might be a gift to those who are constantly being manipulated into more surgeries, because that's astronomical suffering. When people are not conditioned to suffer and recover 100%, why are we adding more pain to their life? I don't like this, but I understand why the system is gearing towards that. Believe me, I don't like watching anyone suffer who cannot recover from it 100%. Their family and friends are not conditioned to watch their friends suffer through long-term recovery process to become a 100% whole person. So yeah, you wait until you're in hospice to do the J world. No, you're not conditioned to suffer like that to become whole again, and neither your friends and family. Okay? And there might be a point where you might even be incapacitated during that recovery process for a certain amount of time. Do you have the funds? Do you have the support system to help you during that process? Okay? And so that's why I say don't wait till you're in hospice to fucking do the Hail Marys. Don't do ever a Hail Mary. Strategically plan out your recovery process and your being whole process. And if you can't do that, then okay. Some people can, if you face the demons early enough. But it's an individual choice. That's what I'm introducing. I'm not shoving this down everyone's throat. Believe me, most people are too far gone. Most. Because I can't even say a lot. I'd say most, because most people are so entrenched. They're creationists. That's what's in our... All of our religions out there are about creationism. Because they all believe they should die someday. Every single one of them out there. Every single one of them out there is the belief in death, even the star seeds. There is no actual religion around immortality. There really isn't. If anything, the J world is the first introduction to actual terrestrial immortality. So as long as the environment holds life. But even those that, like the Ray Kurzweils, those, the transhumanism stuff, immortality in a fucking computer? No, I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about walking on a different plane or flying around, hanging out in the upside down if we were going to bring in Stranger Things. I'm not talking about living on a different planet like Pleiades. I'm talking living here on Earth, terrestrial Earth, immortality, physical immortality. There is no fucking religion out there that believes in that. They're all getting their absolution through spiritual, through religious, through political means. Because, again, they're tied to the medical holistic system. It is a double-edged sword of a society built on dying and reproducing love. When the climate changes, it's fucking insane. Oh, it is. It's all fucked up. And acknowledging what's going on is all fucked up because people won't like anyone acknowledging a truth around current events. Some people want the new information, others do not. That's why I get such a pushback. And so I say, please know what you can handle. If you can handle this information, please block and delete me. But I'm going to tell you, your kids, when you have kids and you want the best for them, and mom and dad, you have major predisposed issues that you're battling right now, I think it's really incumbent upon you to warn them what they're up against. And in this environment, it could come sooner. They could be in the middle of not even their career, but their schooling, and be taken down by a disease that you hold in your body. You have a responsibility to warn your kids, to give them something to work with. You have a responsibility, but if that's not your purview, mom and dad, because you don't want to face your own demons, well, good luck to your kids. Good luck. I feel bad for your kids if you don't warn them of what they're up against in this environment. I feel bad. And so real true evolution is never popular. True evolutionists are not trendy and they are not popular. Creationism is very popular, and it's all politics, religion, and all religions and science dogmas. It takes a strong person to be evolutionary when it's necessary, because you are introducing change and challenging the tradition. So you can have a creationism type of tradition for 10 years, and then you have to be an evolutionist. When the system says, okay, it's time to change, then you have to be an evolutionist for a certain amount of time, and then get on a different plane of existence and doing things differently, and then be that creationist while people are trying to fight evolution, and they can't. They won't survive it, but you can't make them survive it, so you have to watch it. So it takes a strong person to be evolutionary when it's necessary, because you are introducing change and challenging traditions. And you'll be called every name in the fucking book. Oh, you will be. It's not difficult to be a creationist. Just follow the crowd. That's what most people are doing. They're following the crowd. They won't say anything different. Even to their conspiracy community. They will not challenge even their own conspiracy community. And so it's not difficult to be a creationist. Just follow the crowd. I also can play the game and be a creationist until I need to be an evolutionist. That's the key to survivability. You can be a creationist and an evolutionist, and you don't have to take on any religions to prove it. Your survival in this terrestrial world is proof enough. Not dying from natural causes is proof enough. Okay? So, again, it's all individual. And we're in that transition right now. We're in that transition from creationism to evolution, and I see people totally resisting. And they won't warn their kids of what they're up against. They won't. And so when I think about the 10 Commandments and the laws, right? That's why the religious laws are tied in with man-made laws, like with your laws of your community, because thou shalt not do anything unless the government allows it and does it themselves. Even then, you could be held to a different standard. So you better understand the laws, and they change all the time, and not all the time are they enforced. So don't think because they're not enforcing certain laws that you won't get caught or have it be enforced on you when it's convenient. Okay? The powers that be are just biding their time. If they are going to enforce the law on you, it's going to be a doozy. Don't break the law. And so right now, we have people breaking the laws of life using the medical holistic system in a slower frequency environment, not realizing that they are violating laws left and right with the energy healing world, with the holistic and the allopathic and the surgical system. And so when they change the laws of motion, when they are doing particle acceleration in your environment, they just change the fucking law on you. They just enforce the fucking natural law on you. And look what is happening to people. They're not surviving the laws that they violated back in a slower frequency environment. That's what's going on. That's evolutionism. That's creationism. Working hand in hand. So then you are not conditioned to deal with the new laws, the new particle acceleration in this environment. And people are resisting, right? Because they're going to their energy healing people and they're going to their holistic allopathic surgical system, causing more violations against life. They won't survive a dynamic environment because they have not figured out how to condition themselves when the laws are finally enforced. When they were given a free fucking ride for years. 4 years in a slower frequency environment that was slowly heating up during cold and flu season and spring allergy season. That's what I'm saying, that don't ever break the law in your body, in your mind, in your spirit, whatever, and in your environment and in your community. So if you understand natural law, literally if you understand natural law and not violate the laws of life, you will survive every single time they enforce natural law against you, the system. And that's what's going on in the chemtrails groups. That's what's going on in all the different groups out there. They are not liking the fact that they're now being held accountable for the laws that they violated in their body, mind, and spirit years ago, and they won't change. They will not fucking change. And it's everyone else's fault but themselves. That's why you must understand natural law and man-made law and religious law. That's the Rosicrucian. And so, yeah, blockages cause big, huge tumors and all that stuff in your body because you've stopped up different canals, you stopped up different arteries and capillaries and alimentary canal and lymph nodes. And so that's why people get lymphoma, cancer of the lymph nodes. They have to get them all taken out because they're not allowing their body to open up. And they're causing more trauma, violating more life, causing more trauma to their body. And it will be harder to come back from. And so, hubby and wife is like attorney-client privilege. It's a sacred relationship. Don't break privilege. And so, I'm going to read this. 50 is a great time to find a career you want and take the time to study for it. It helps to bring up all predisposed issues so they do not color or jade or get in the way of your momentum. You have 50 years under your belt of so much life experience, so much to offer. You don't have to memorize anything. You just take every single bit of life experience and understand the logic of the industry you are going into. Find a way. Amazon has great books around everything you want to know about. Business, everything. Business, law, bioengineering, biology. You can study everything you want and just can get books for like $6, $5. I mean, self-motivation is everything in this world. You're not going to be baby spoon-fed everything in this world. You have to now finally feed yourself. Okay? And so Amazon has great books around everything you want to know about. You can study and read anything you want. You can study for so many different exams to get into whatever colleges you want. Develop your storyline. So I was thinking, like, what would I write if I wanted to go into some college, say Harvard, Yale, or even Ohio State? if I wanted to go into a college and go into their, and once I get, let's say I have a bachelor's degree, and I go back to school and get a bachelor's degree, and now I have a bachelor's, or I want to get into some, who knows, I'll figure it out. And I'm writing an essay about myself of why I want to get into that college, to learn certain specific things, to get certified or whatever. I have a whole storyline around the J world, around being tact, around everything about even the premise of immortality. I have an amazing fucking storyline because I developed it for so many years. Develop your storyline. Understand. Well, figure out your purpose in life. Figure out what society needs. Okay? I mean, that's the thing is it's not just, just kind of sliding along society. Yeah, you can slide along society and just kind of take a back seat and be this. And that's great. That's fine. But I'll tell you, those that want to really expand their intellectual capacity, it is about taking in knowledge. Because no matter what, you have to evolve your brain. You got to be not only intellectually evolutionary, but physiologically evolutionary. And I'll tell you, when you finally can do things that you thought you couldn't do academically, and then you can start writing and expressing yourself. I mean, you don't have to invent, the next greatest thing, but you could, there's so many things you don't even know you could do. That's the beauty of the J world, is it's discovering your fucking maximum potential. But that would require releasing the demons and facing them. Okay? And so develop your storyline. The world is at your feet and you have life experience, which is more than what these kids coming out of college have. And they're wet behind the fucking ears. Oh yeah. Their parents sold them a dream and they hope they can get through, but have they dealt with their predisposed issues? No, they haven't. Remember, these children are your competition because they have not dealt with their predisposed issues mommy and daddy gave to them. And chances are mommy and daddy will not deal with their predisposed issues, much less tell their children what to expect in the future, genetically. If a kid is pretty savvy and can look at what mommy and daddy and grandma and grandpa went through health-wise and potentially died from, they might have a fucking chance. And that will come up. It is in plain sight. Unless you are being groomed for greatness, like those kids that are getting 5 degrees, that's what you're going to face. Remember, these kids getting college degrees at 5 years old are being groomed for greatness. But we know it'll be short-lived. They will be thrust into a very aggressive system and given everything they could possibly want. Like the movies, is it called Grandma's House or Grandma? I forget. But these tech kids that are very juvenile, but they know how to play these video games and they develop video games. And they're very juvenile and they're very young, but they're given like these cars and houses and then a console right in front of them. And they're in the middle of like a white room and they're told, play this game and figure it out. And so they're being groomed for that. And then they supernova from all that privilege. They have been given so much privilege, they're not even living in reality, and they supernova. Okay? But and that will come up if it's in plain sight. Unless you are being groomed for greatness, that's what you're going to face. Remember, these kids getting college degrees at 5 years old are being groomed for greatness. But we know it will be short-lived. I mean, that's academic slavery. Because they don't have a choice in the matter. They're 5, 6, 7, 15 years old being sold a major dream and they are being siphoned into a system that's going to use their brain. And they will have to go and perform. Because people in the J world, you're dealing with the predisposed issues right now. You are facing the demons most people turn away from. All right? People who run away from their own health issues, it will bite them in the ass. And so you have been given the gift of foresight. You know what to expect now. You know what's going to happen in your genetic line because you're willing to face them. You're looking at your parents. And if you're adopted and if you don't know what your parents went through, then you'll just face whatever's coming at you. You'll know what you've dealt with the last 50 years, what you've taken medications for, what you went to the hospital for. I've never been to the hospital for anything heart related or, I remember having a major headache when I was major, like they thought I had a concussion back when I was in kindergarten, first grade. But that was an evolution. That was a major evolution that caused just holy shit. Because I came from Vietnam, going into America with so much diversity. All right? So you have the gift of foresight. You have an edge over most people once you understand your position in the world. Now you must be sharp, adaptable, versatile, eloquent, polished, quick on your feet, well-bred, knowledgeable, and whatever. And I know I have to watch my mouth, but eventually, I mean, I'm not going to be doing anything like trying to break into a world or a society right now. I'm right now in the whole developing myself process. I'm almost 50 years old and I'm starting over again. And I'm going to live out this part of it with my husband and developing myself academically and even personality wise. I will eventually clean up my language and I won't be swearing so much, but this is what I have to do. And if people look back on these videos, like on YouTube, like any potential, who knows, person that does background checks, I will already cover all this. I will make sure they understand exactly the process of personal and professional development, self-motivation. I will have a story around all of this, around my dog, around everything. And they can look at everything. I'm transparent. I have really no skeletons in my closet. None. Okay? I've pretty much revealed everything that anyone, and I'll eventually get my juvenile record sealed. But right now they're like out there. I guess. I don't know. I have to go and find out. But I'm not even worried about that because shoplifting is really not a major thing. I mean, it is, but it isn't. But it's nothing to be really ashamed of. You do stupid shit when you're like young in times of trying times. But so that's the thing, is that you become an open book. So no one can leverage anything on you. You don't want anyone leveraging shit on you, no matter what. Because as you are coming up in this world, in the J world, you will be scrutinized. And if you mention the J world in some way or shape or form, because you're going to have to explain why things are when you finally get to a certain point, the J world is going to be the thing that you'll be going back to. And when you say it publicly, there are people out there that want to take people down because they're jealous of them. And so you got to be transparent about everything. You got to be transparent. You cannot be hiding anything, because that's what's going to bite people in the ass, is they have so many skeletons in the closet they have not faced and come to terms with and develop a story around. So that's part of the J world, is facing everything. And if it's too much, I understand. All right. But remember, we have been programmed by the system, sexually, intellectually, physically, biologically, and you had to run your program. And then eventually you realize, holy shit, it wasn't really my fault. Yeah, people make choices, but people do stupid shit when they're young. Don't let the shit that happened to you as a teenager or even a young adult run you and make you ashamed and then make you want to just not do it. I mean, don't let that, because then that's what will control you. That's how the system has put their finger on a lot of people, is because they know that they program people to be certain ways. People act out their programming, and then that's how they control them and silence them through shame. And know, if you can explain it biologically, if you can explain it intellectually, if you can explain it in so many different ways, and realize that, yeah, we all have been set up to fail on some level, then that's your way out. So you can invent yourself and not be afraid of someone using anything in your past, whatever it is, doesn't matter what it is, against you. And that takes facing those demons and understanding the world that you live in. All right. And so I have plenty of time to explore everything in the world that I want. In reality, the first 50 years of your life is a training ground. The next 50 years is yours. And so I'm coming from the standpoint of being almost 50. I'm 40 now. I'll be 50 in February. Okay? 50. Can you believe that? I don't even feel like I'm 50. Women in the J world, you might not want a family or kids, because we have the gift of experience and find satisfaction in intellectual evolution and beating all the odds. We have plenty of time, women, men, and non-binaries. And so, yeah, if you already raised a family, you already have a bunch of kids right now, and you're going through the J world process, then you're not going to have kids down the road. And those that are coming out of college, they're in their teens and 20s, and they're all like, oh, I got to have a family, and I got to get pregnant, and I got to have this, and I got to have that. And you know your competition. That's so easy to tell an employer, hey, I already had a family. Hey, I'm in the J world. I released all my demons. I am, I'm ready to fucking work. I'm ready to do everything. I'm ready to give my lifeblood to this company and take care of myself at the same time and give you guys the best I could offer you. And let me tell you, when the J world becomes even more mainstream and people start realizing the gifts of the J world, companies will realize anyone that has white hair that has released all their demons and predisposed issues, and they're young but telematically, but they have so much wisdom. They were born in the 1960s and 70s, and they look like they're in their 40s with white hair. They're getting a gift. They're getting a gift to that company. The gift of foresight, the gift of everything. Because then you also, when you're going into a company, whatever it is, you also have made sure that you have all the knowledge around whatever you're doing. And you can articulate, you can write, you can learn things. So that's what I'm saying. That's what's available. It's like the world's at your fucking feet. That's what I'm saying. That's something. That's the exciting part of the J world. Once you get past all those freaking demons. But you got to pay your dues. Okay? You have to pay your dues. And as far as those people in the Titan, as far as the Titanic, I don't know. They could be dead or they could be in an underground base. I'm going to just say this. I'm just going to put it out there. People think I'm crazy, but not really. So those people that are in that Titan thing, they could be in an underground, under the sea, UFO sea base. At this point, anything is possible. We're pretty much entering into the alien agenda. So I don't want to assume that those people have died that are floating around in that Titanic thing. I don't know. Potentially, but there also could be alien shit going on. So I'm willing to entertain both sides of that equation. All right. So again, just always have another scenario in mind. That's not always what they say. Everything is possible. And so learn how to provide compelling arguments and withstand the pressure. And that's what I woke up last night in the middle of the night, was that I said to myself as I'm sleeping, learn how to provide compelling arguments and withstand the pressure. And that's what the J world is about, is learning how to speak, learning how to write, developing your purpose. It's not about what people are doing out there. Who cares what they're doing out there? What are you doing with yourself, with whatever it is? What are you discovering? What kind of arguments can you provide to get a certain point across? What is your purpose? And can you withstand the pressure in body, mind, spirit, and in the environment? What are you offering to the world? What do you have to offer to the world? What is your purpose yet again? Okay? And if your purpose is to give people more remedies and surgeries and cannabis, well, that's already been done. What else is there besides drugs and alcohol and sex and distraction and entertainment? What else do you have to offer besides all that? That's already been done again. There's too much of that redundancy in the population. And so when I saw that in the Die Suddenly group, 2 or more of my patients have passed away in the last 5 days. I will tell you what I'm seeing more of: muscle wasting, failure to thrive. My patients look more like patients I had in the 90s with AIDS. Complete muscle wasting, weakness, eyes drawn in, face drawn in. It's incredibly sad. I'm praying for everyone. So you are in a highly dynamic environment. If you're not turning your shit around, that's how you're going to end up. If you literally do not turn around what's going on, you'll end up like that. This environment is no joke. But you can survive it. And not only survive it, you can thrive in it. But you're going to have to face the demons. You're going to have to pay your dues. But when you finally do pay your dues and you set your life up for it, so much is available. And no, you're not going to get rich quick. You're going to earn your way into this world. And you'll do it honestly, intellectually, evolutionary, physically. And then you won't really need to turn to religion or anything for absolution, because you're doing it yourself. All right, bye. And you're taking responsibility for it. Bye.